He comes and removes the death. There is no death. And now death can't just be that, well, I cease to be. Now everybody should go off and have their hearts aware of the fact that death tries to communicate to your heart through a word of lack. And so now we can have understanding concerning how sin tries to reign over us.
Right.
It tries to be made strong in our lives through a word of lack, of what we lack. And so we can know when we're busy with that kind of a thought that our eyes have gotten focused on something in this world or something that we see in our flesh. And that's causing death to reign over us, and it's subverting our soul. And then it can be really easy. We can begin to think about the resurrection again. And we can just play this message again.
Yeah.
Or any other message that communicates abundance to us.
Right. It's so powerful. It really is. Coming to the understanding of the relationship between lack and sin is really, that just for me opens up all of the concepts that we've been talking about. It's very, very powerful.
That's the power for us.
Yeah.
Death has no dominion over Jesus. He was raised from the dead. We all agree with that, right?
Yeah.
He can't die.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's designed to communicate something to us. You see, in the same way that a word was made flesh in Adam, telling all of us that death was reigning over us, because we saw everybody die.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
Yeah.
Aren't we busy seeing everybody die?
Yes.
Aren't we busy seeing all the death and destruction in the world?
Yeah.
That's communicating death to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's telling us that death is reigning over us. Look, everybody dies. Nobody escapes it. It was communicating a word. A word of death was made flesh in Adam. And that word was causing death to reign over us. And now God comes and he makes another word in human flesh come to life. The power unto an indestructible life in human flesh was manifested in Jesus. So a different word could be released. And that word could say to us that death has no dominion over us. Because now we see there is a guy who's come in human flesh, and that guy didn't die. Not only did that guy not die, but that guy absorbed the death of all people into himself. Just to demonstrate that the life he has in himself doesn't just overcome one person's death. It overcame the death of every single person that's ever lived.
Yeah.
And now there's a word in human flesh declaring to us that death can't reign over us.
Yeah.
But that this life can reign over us. And that sets us free. And then that's what walking in newness of life is.
Yeah.
Your life becomes born from the persuasion, lack has no dominion over me. I don't lack anything. Death has no dominion over me. My life becomes born from that persuasion. As my life becomes born from that persuasion, my members become slaves to righteousness. Meaning that because life is reigning over me, my members are taken captive to God's life. My members are taken captive by life.
And they have no choice.
They have no choice.
Slaves to righteousness.
And that's the crucial part of that language.
Yes. Yes.
That's why I said you're servants to sin,
Yes.
servants to righteousness.
Yes.
Because when you make it that kind of way, you make it in the way that you don't have a choice in the matter, really. You've been taken captive. You've been arrested by a thing.
Right.
That's designed to communicate to us that you can't use your ability to bring it forth.
Right.
You can't decide you want to be a slave to righteousness and then go be one.
Just like you talked about before, how sin holds the gun to our head. We
Right.
don't have a choice, right? Now it makes sense, even more sense. We should be standing on our chairs shouting. I don't know about you, but that's like, this is such good news. And you just, I hope you got that, because that was really awesome.
I got it.
That was really,
I'm sitting
really
here
awesome.
doing good.
We can get all the definitions of all these different kinds of things. The old man.
Yeah.
The old man is primarily the guy that said, my life is hid in the flesh. My life is hid in this world. My life is hid in the good I can get to happen for me, and the bad I can avoid happening to me.
Yeah.
My life is hid in the good fruit I can produce, and the bad fruit I can avoid producing.
Yeah.
That's the old man. He said, my life is hid in those things. So through my ability to bring forth good fruit and avoid bad fruit, I'll have peace, love, joy, kindness, long-suffering, meekness.
Right.
Through my ability to bring forth peace, love, joy, kindness, long-suffering. And through my ability to not bring forth envy and hatred and all those different kinds of things, gossiping, backbiting, I will have an incorruptible life. That's the old man.
Yeah.
And so the old man is the guy whose life was hid in the world.
Right.
So the old man died so that a human being's life would no longer be hid in the world. So Jesus incarnate, that's why it says he came in the likeness of sinful flesh.
Mm-hmm.
He had to come in the likeness of sinful flesh so he could die away the old man. So he came in the likeness of the man that found his life in the world. Except he didn't find his life in the world. And because he didn't find his life in the world, it resulted in his death on behalf of all human beings to the life that's in the world. Do you see that? And in dying as us to the life that's in the world, he could remove our life from the world. And now death can no longer reign over us because we're no longer looking to the world for our life. We're looking somewhere else. And that's the power of him coming and dying away the old man. You see, he comes in the likeness of the old man, except the old man found his life in the world. So Jesus came looking like the old man in the likeness of sinful flesh, but he came with a different spirit. This spirit said that life isn't found in the world. And so when the world pressed in upon him with death, he didn't lift one finger in order to try to preserve his life. Because when he died, he could die the man whose life was hid in the world. And in the man whose life that was hid in the world dying, then we're no longer condemned to a life of us trying to find life in the world or in our flesh. And then we can have death removed from us. And then we can find our spirit, souls, and bodies being animated with resurrection life. Because we can find our lives born from the likeness of Jesus' resurrection, which is, I'm the possessor of an incorruptible, indestructible life. I lack no thing that I need for life and godliness. I'm the possessor of all things that pertain to life and godliness.
Hallelujah.
You see, that's walking in the likeness of Jesus' resurrection. And these all things that pertain to life and godliness and I'm a possessor of, there's nothing in this world that can come and take that from me. You see, it's not subject to what this world can do to me. It's not subject to what somebody can say or do or what can happen to me. Now that's unto the power of fullness of joy manifesting in you no matter what happens. That doesn't mean bad things will always happen. It's to take our eyes off of whether they do or don't. And then you walk around like the Smurfs. La, 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 la. You know? You find yourself singing sweet melodies in your heart. You're just all the time going through life with innocence. You know? Just, oh man, I have everything. Glory to God.
Amen. Man, that was good.
That enriches your soul.
Oh, you bet.
When you realize that. When you and so this is a persuasion. We have our lives persuaded of this. Our hearts persuaded of this more and more. And then we find ourselves born in that place. And that's why Jesus said, you know, be of good cheer. In the world there's tribulation. You know, I was telling my little brother this because we both grew up in like word of faith circles. And I'm not against those people, but that doctrine is from the devil. It's not from God. And other quasi-grace circles that put all the focus on the world. And I told him, I said, you know, when I got into all that, I had already read the Bible a lot. And I said, I was a little shocked now that I look back at my ignorance to those doctrines. Because you can't escape Jesus saying, in the world you will have tribulation. You can't find in any of the letters in the New Testament where Paul or Peter or James or John were writing to people who were experiencing hard times. You can't find in any of those letters those guys telling them that if they would just believe enough, then they would get all the good things. You can't find that anywhere. And yet, we acted as if that was the truth. And so Jesus said, listen, yes, there's tribulation in this world. This world's called the valley of the shadow of death. But be of good cheer. Be filled with joy, because I have overcome the tribulation that's in the world. Meaning, there's a life in me, and I'm going to come and I'm going to hide your life in me. And the life that's in me is not subject to the tribulation in the world. The life that's in me actually overcomes the tribulation in the world. So even though when you look in the world, you'll see tribulation, be of good cheer, because I'm going to hide your life in me, and within me is a life that can't be corrupted by the tribulation in the world. And that will fill you with fullness of joy in the midst of the tribulation in the world. That's what Paul said to guys when he found them experiencing tribulation. He didn't say, well, guys, you know, you must be weak in your faith. Because if you were really believing good, then, you know, the Jewish people that hate Jesus wouldn't reject you. You'd have big houses anyway. You'd have money anyway. Even in the midst of the depression, you'd have money. No. That's not what he said. That's not what James said. That's not what John said. They all started speaking of the power of the resurrection. They reminded them that their life was born from an incorruptible seed. You see, the world is always trying to tell you that your life has been born from something that's corruptible. That fills us with fear. That fills us with being subverted if we think our life can be corrupted. So the answer isn't now for you to try to find life in the world, because that life's corruptible. Do you see what I'm saying?